Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live powered by Growth Sutra. I'm your host, Vishwendra Verma. So, today we are cutting through the hype and getting to the real question. What does it take to build a winning team for an AI first world? As you might have seen, AI is no longer a future disruptor. It's here, it's in the workflows, it's in the boardrooms, and in the front line. But behind every success story isn't just code or capability, it's people. Teams that are structured right, roles that are redefined, and cultures that are ready. So ask yourself, is your team designed to scale with AI or is still stuck in legacy logic? Are you hiring for AI collaboration or trying to bolt it onto yesterday's model? Or are you building AI first or retrofitting too late? So before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. Say hi in the chat and let us know where you are joining from. We love seeing where our community is tuning in from. If you missed any part of today's session, the replay will be available on our YouTube channel. Uh, and if you have got any questions for our speakers, drop them in the comments. We'll bring them in live. We'll have those questions posed in the live session. So AI is already reshaping how we sell, operate, and grow. But those results don't happen in isolation. According to McKinsey study recently, top performing companies are 1.6 times more likely to have high performing AI teams embedded across functions. And it's not about using AI, it's actually how are you building the team around it. So, to help us unpack what that looks like in the real world, we are joined by two leaders building at the edge of this shift. I have Subrata, who is joining me uh, from Bangalore,
Yeah.
and I have Vivek joining me from Delhi. So, Subrata, let's start with you. Tell us a bit about what you are building with your company. I heard you are building a product named Gyani, and how your journey led you to this space.
Sure. So once again, thank you for inviting me to the session and welcome to our session to all the audiences that we have. So first of all, what we are doing, I'll cut it a little bit short. So when we started with an objective that how can we automate the various enterprise IT related services and sort of minimize the pains that we have today while delivering the services. There are a lot of churnout happens on the team. There is a difference in the knowledge base, and then there is a huge cost of transition, and on top of that, hiring and other things. So ultimately, it all reflects into the outcome that the business is looking for. So that was the question we were exploring and trying to see how, at least if not all, how at least majority of the thing can be moved or shifted from a people driven model to a machine driven model. So that's where we have come out with this concept called service automation. Basically means automating the various services. So this is where I would like to bring in a little bit of differentiation about what is a service. So we have got task, then we have got various kind of process, and then ultimately when you deliver it to a business with an outcome, it is called the service. So that's how basically it moves up from the task automation to the process automation to the ultimate thing, which is service automation, which is linked to a business outcome. So that's where we are living with it. When we started, of course, AI and other things were there, but not so prevalent. The models were not that ready. So we started our journey as a typical software product developer, and then couple of years back when we have seen the advantage of using data and the various kind of intelligent models really helps a lot here in terms of taking the decision automatically. We have adapted to generative AI based service automation, right? So that's what we have started. So today our product is called Gyani, and it's a generative AI powered service automation tool which is designed for operational excellence. And our focus area primarily is enterprise IT, with the models called Solution GPT, which is a transformer model into the very specific areas of enterprise IT, and an agentic framework for end user computing services. um, backed up by an AI-powered service management automation tool, which delivers the whole result.
Okay. Thank you, Subrata. Thank you for taking us through your journey and how you have built your product. Vivek, I'll come to you. So you have just launched your book, Startupology, and you are working very closely with the startup founders. So give us a quick window about into your work and what you're seeing in the ground. Show us the
So,
book.
so here is the book, just one of the few first copies that I got hold of, and the book is essentially about helping early stage founders navigate, their journey of starting a company, from the point of whether how should they deliberate about thinking about starting a company, whether they should really start a company today, and once they start, what are the nitty-gritties and what are the elements, and how should they go about building a true startup that can scale and fulfill the dreams of being a startup. And it's not a rosy book. It talks hard truths about startup not being what is sometimes portrayed as a glamorous, you know, uh, glamorous course of doing things in your career. So yeah, that's the book about. Coming to AI, the startups are very excited about what is happening in the AI world, especially because it will help them do things at a much lesser cost. And the important part is that because of the excitement, they think that AI can really become a replacement for a lot of things, which is not true today, right? I think AI is a true partner uh, and not a replacement as of today. And how I think AI is actually hiring a set of very intelligent interns who can do things on their own, but they need to be supervised. They need to be looked at, from various elements. So whenever I talk to startups about AI, and there is every day there is some new thing that is coming in terms of what AI is capable of, right? I always advise them to start very small and gain the confidence and not get swayed by what is being shown in the media and online, right? Build like very specific use cases to them, gain confidence, and then start depending on AI. And we do not know what the future holds. So Brita is building the future, and yeah, so that's it.
Thank you. Thanks, Vivek. I think that's the stage well. We see a lot of evolution in terms of the AI landscape. So what we have just heard about their vision and direction. Let's now bring in the enterprise angle with Subrata and get some perspective from him in terms of how enterprise clients, because you are Subrata, you are working very closely with enterprise clients. We are seeing AI move from innovation labs to embedded use across operations and customer-facing functions. So, in fact, we hear a lot about nowadays, embedded AI pods, which is to some extent, replacing the center of excellences, which was very popular earlier within business units or various functions. So, how do what structural changes are you seeing within the enterprise world when they are scaling with Gen AI?
It's really a good question, I'll say. So first of all, let me tell you from the enterprise customers mindset point of view, because there are so much of myth around AI or generative AI today that quite a lot of, I'll say majority of the enterprise customer thinks if I have just AI coming in my context, everything is solved. Actually speaking, majority of the time, the service provider or the product provider or the customer even don't know how to use the AI solution in their proper context. So there is a bit of homework or a groundwork needs to be done. The context needs to be set up. whatever is the problem, what part of the problem your AI can solve. And when I call it an AI, I'd like to extend it like AI driven products or AI founded products can solve. It's not everything that AI going to solve. That's point number one. And you have to really find out the use case which AI going to solve. The things which are based on data, things which are based on interpretation, things where the decisions can be taken based on the data models which are available. Those are some of the areas. That's what I will say the AI can solve. Majority of the cases in an enterprise, what we see is data is everywhere but nowhere. When we ask for give me last 5 years data so that I can give you something back, I mean, the question goes back into the dustbin with no answer coming in. People expect a magic to happen from AI. I'm just giving you some of the realities. They expect a magic to happen because they have heard, they have seen that, oh, it can be done overnight. I have a problem. I'm giving you an example. I give you the problem, you use your AI model, put it into the black box, the next second the outcomes would come in. But what has gone inside into that black box, actually nobody spends time to think
Hmm.
around that. So here is my take on this. I'll say we are shifting from a typical software development or a typical coding based product development mindset to a product development mindset which is based on data and models. The perspective is very very different here, right? We don't need to build so much of code or don't need to put so much of code there. So therefore the mindset needs to be oriented towards first, do I have enough data? If I want to pursue an AI journey, do I have enough data for me or not? Forget about good data and bad data. That's a different discussion. Today we have got the possibility where we can work with any kind of data and see that we get some meaningful outcome with it. So even if some garbages are there, can we bring in the garbage also? I'll say at the bare minimum of it, right? So these are some of the, I will say, context and the myths around it. Right? It can do a magic. Answer is definitely no. Put up the right context. Bring in the data that is available with you. Spend. I will say 50% of your time to get your data and give it to your partner who is giving you the product or an application with AI. They will do a wonderful job for you. That much I can say, right? But without that, you are actually planning to get a failure along with your partner. So I like to end with that as a
So in fact, yeah, I've seen some industry reports where like Gartner is saying, the POCs that are currently going on with AI. So 30% of those POCs would end up in failure, or these will be abandoned by the end of 2025. So as you rightly mentioned, of course, there are some inherent roadblocks which are there for AI adoption within enterprise world, but you also see it from the perspective of teams, their skills or how the team has been built. You see that team is also kind of a roadblock in this AI adoption.
Yeah, so I'll not call it a roadblock. I'll call it, let's say, we have evolved. I give a very typical example of when there was no email, we still have our post offices, right? And we still have our post offices today. In fact, they are doing much more than what they used to do, in fact, 20 years back. So post offices, emails are both coexisting side by side. The scale has really gone up. Okay. Let me compare that with pre-AI versus AI kind of things. So it is the mindset and the orientation that needs to be changed. So we did not have AI. So basically things were write a spec, put up the functional spec, technical spec, build it out, test it out, go ahead, right? That's the thing. Now that model may not be needed all the time as of today. So from the team perspective, I will say when you think of today's team, in the today's team, two or three aspects are very, very important. One is what should be the constituents of your team. It will not be just the designer and the developers, for sure. So if I have, so that is one aspect of it. I'll give you a little bit more into it. The second aspect of it, basically the culture. This is where quite a lot of top management driven attitude is required. The
Mm.
culture has gone for a total shift, right? And then of course comes your hiring and talent acquisition part. So if I
Mm.
have to narrate you something from building a core team, there are two elements which are new, which is something I'll call it as an AI ML engineer who should be
Mm.
your explorer or experimenter. Don't look out for an expert, rather look out for those who are experimental. That
Mm.
really, that is one of the constituent which is needed in an AI first world when we are building something new, which would be directly or indirectly based on data. And second one is something called a product thinker. Product thinker we mean today is not from a traditional mindset. Product thinker based on data and intelligent models, because
Mm.
by somehow hook or crook, the data has to be made available. And there are enough intelligent models which are available today, which can do quite a lot of job while building the products. So these
Mm.
two aspects are very important.
Mm.
Nevertheless, there are other elements which cannot be ignored, like you still have somebody who needs to take care of your infra, your DevOps process, and the cloud aspects, because
Mm.
today's cloud has actually evolved. You can take it as on a modular basis. So your
Mm.
cloud services can be really, really modular. Don't start with a big bang white elephant cloud, which sucks out completely your cost. So there could be a modular approach to your cloud-based infrastructure. Domain experts was always required, like it was there earlier, it is required today. If let's say we are building a verticalized AI driven product. So the domain experts on that vertical definitely would be of help. And there is another element we should not forget when we talk about data and the intelligent models. There is an aspect called ethical AI or a responsible AI. So an outsider or an expert help would be required from that angle. I'd like to compare that with, let's say, I remember about 15, 20 years back when most of the manufacturing companies were going for ISO certification, ISO
Yeah.
9000 certification. This is just to make them feel good and get them recognized to an external body that our processes are aligned with something which is really, really standard. And there is no local or domestic bias towards it, right?
Mm.
Exactly the same concept applies here when you talk about ethical AI or responsible AI. We need to
Mm.
ensure that the local or domestic or any kind of biasnesses are, if not eliminated, at least a proper control and visual put in place to highlight
Mm.
them and and make them corrected, even if on a post facto basis. So
Yeah.
these important of a team strength are very, very important. If I have to tell you
Thank.
something from the culture angle, like there are three or four aspects which are really important. First one,
Mm.
I already said, the team, don't look for an expertise from the team, rather look for experimental mindset. Because if I have to tell you in AI world today, the way it is evolving, finding an expert would be really, really difficult. So rather look for somebody who is having an explorer mindset or a hacking mindset, who can continuously understand the evolution of the models and have the ability to leverage those things to make something out of it. those
Yeah.
those those kind of mindset would be a key. The second
Mm.
mindset, which is more important from the enterprise customers or the customers who are adopting to AI based products and solutions, from their point of view, should be and data and the model driven culture, a culture of data and a culture of model, that is really, really important. Things like hygiene aspect of the data, things like the annotation aspect of the data, and of course, as I said, no AI models are ultimately intelligent. My word is
Mm.
ultimately intelligent. Please note it. Why I saying that? A feedback loop, or I will call it a learning loop in any kind of products you are building out of AI is very important, because that is
Mm.
the loop which makes the AI driven product very, very important. So an aspect or a culture mindset, don't expect your AI solution giving you a result which is 98% accurate or 99% accurate. I just
Absolutely.
recently faced one experience where where so we were competing with another company's AI solutions, and somehow this particular lead, he's basically he's a team lead. He was saying the other company said that my accuracy level is 98% from day one. So I was saying, uh, to start with, I do not want to guarantee you more than 60 to 70% accuracy level, because there would be
Oh,
things like
that's a huge gap.
there would be
Yeah.
things like biasness, or which are driven by data, because we have to rectify all those aspects. So question was why you are giving accuracy level so low, whereas other
Mm.
one is saying my accuracy level is 98% from day one. I just simple said you can go ahead with them if you feel confident, but I'm giving you something which is realistic. And then I have shown him some data points how we have evolved from a 60% to, let's say, 80 or
Mm.
90%, 95% plus over a period of 6 to 9 months, based
Mm.
on the focused attention. And also showed him my expectation from him. I've given him a laundry list of things that I need from him to get that accuracy level, so
Yeah.
which is a hard work for both the sides. So that
Yeah.
kind of
Absolutely.
mindset
So it's like,
is
yeah.
required.
So what you mentioned, right? So there are a couple of aspects, especially when you're looking at an enterprise from enterprise context. There's more complexity which is involved, and there are various aspects that needs to be looked at, either in terms of the data that they have, the culture, the mindset, the team, readiness, and what you also mentioned about the you have to be also realistic when you are building these AI kind of pods or center of excellence within the enterprise world. Let me quickly go to Vivek. Let me ask him, Vivek, you are very, kind of, you showed some excitement about how startups are adopting AI, and their sentiment for AI is very positive. But how do you see this emerging blueprint for building early stage growth teams in 2025, where AI is going to be a core collaborator, or AI can be a co-founder?
Okay, so as I said earlier, AI as a co-founder is the ultimate dream. It is said that in the next 5 years, we will have a single founder unicorn, which means everything will be run by AI along with the founder. So we will ultimately have an AI co-founder in the next 5 years. But today, I think the way things are, we should think of AI as an army of potential interns who are very, very smart and intelligent, but they need to be supervised because we cannot predictably say what the outcomes may be. We need guardrails. We need to look at how the outcomes are tying up back to our North Star metrics and objectives. So AI first startups treat AI as a core capability. Starting on day one. It's not a makeshift that they will plug in at some point later. Founders will structure teams to be ultra lean. Sometimes today they will plan teams to be less than 10 people. YC backed startups doing more than $10 million in ARR. Many of them are less than 10 people, and they leverage AI by automating what larger companies today do with a lot of stuff. So the teams may look like a CTO who takes care of building the AI models, the data pipelines, a product lead who blends sort of marketing and analytical skills, and perhaps supports a small team. So AI will act like a co-founder, but it is not one entity. We need to look at for every process in the startup. AI can go and become an intern assistant, which we need to look at, which we need to assign tasks, which we need to map the KPIs and the goals to that individual, sort of department. So ultimately, the result is going to be a flat, cross-functional structure where sort of roles will overlap and everybody is AI savvy, and you know engineers are sort of thinking about GDM outcomes, and marketers are using AI tools to improve their ROS and other things. So this will be a very very lean model, but it needs caution, right? Why it needs caution? Because of the enthusiasm, over enthusiasm that I see in the market. We need to take baby steps. We need to, as startups, we need to ensure that we gain the confidence when we are moving forward. Just because an AI agent claims that it can do a lot of things, we need to run a lot of A/B tests. We need to make sure that whatever outcomes are coming can be attributed back to the AI initiatives that we have taken. So what I suggest is divide your workflows into two parts. One is conventional, and the other where the AI initiative has happened, and run A/B tests so that you can actually see the difference where what AI is actually making. Right, the hype I think today is more than what the deliverables are, and just because your output comes out in less than 10 minutes, or a lot of automation is possible, I think you need to go and really check the nuts and bolts if this is exactly what you want. Because what I have seen
Yeah.
is that if you leave it to the agents, the it will do a work, maybe does a shoddy work, or maybe it does something totally different than what you sort of expected. So yeah, exciting times. A lot of scalability can happen, but a lot of caution is needed. And founders, instead of blindly relying that I can build an army of agents and do a lot of work across functions, it needs to be driven by a structured policy. You need to understand what tools should we be bringing from outside. That's the generic tools. But if you are building your own data internally, then how do your models use that data so that the AI outputs are specific to your sort of organization. And we need to understand that just because AI is very cheap does not mean that we will be faster in the race, because everybody has access to the same set of tools. So the unit cost per unit of labor is going to reduce for everybody. So the competitiveness, if you were doing something at $10 and now you're able to do it at $2, and so is the case with everybody, and the customers realize this. So they've already started demanding a 20 to 30% reduction because
Yeah.
of AI capabilities, right? So the competition is
Exactly.
going to increase. Only those startups who are ahead of the curve, not relying on what is being claimed, and applying their own mechanisms to test the outcomes, are going to be the ultimate winners.
Exactly. So, in fact, within the startup context, when I look at some of the startups, especially here in India, the mindset of the mindset has not changed much as compared to what you see in the US or European context. There, I mean, obviously in US, there's more discussion about having a lean team, but here in India, is still, startups, they are evaluating how they can function, or with that lean team structure, because still here the mindset is to have as many resources as possible, so that it shows your capabilities to the outside world, to the external world. So if you have resources within your team, you would not prefer to have a very lean team in from Indian context, because your clients or your prospects would like to work with you. They'd like to see what capabilities you are bringing to them, and when they look at when they kind of assess you from the capability perspective, they look at the people that you have onboarded within your startup ecosystem. So I think that's a challenge that Indian startups would certainly face as we evolve further. But now let's talk about, we talked about structure and hiring. Let's talk about the outcomes quickly, in terms of how these AI teams can drive revenue and not just vanity. Means we did talk about some aspects in terms of cost optimization, bringing efficiency, but then there are challenges. But do you see how do you assess these winning teams? So whether you assess in terms of the impact that these teams are making on the revenue, or you would see that these teams are making more impact on the efficiency or on the cost optimization. In fact, when you look at some of the data, AI is being adopted more in the sales and marketing domain. And that could be because there's content automation which might be needed, or there might be some repetitive tasks that can be actually taken care by AI tools. And that's where some of the AI tools are trying to make that impact, that we are going beyond dashboards, we are going beyond analytics, and we are trying to make an impact by revenue acceleration. So where do you see, both of you see, in terms of outcomes or in terms of the ROI, whether it's more on the revenue or whether it's more on the cost optimization from both perspectives, startup and enterprise?
So, in terms of cost saving, there is a limit to which you can save the cost, right? Ultimately, today everybody is excited. Okay, we can save the cost by optimizing our processes, which is great. You can, companies like Spotify and Duolingo have announced, the internal memos leaked, and the CEOs are saying that we need to become a first AI company, and they've instructed all the team leaders that they need to prove why do they need to hire new resources. A lot of enterprises I know have frozen hiring because they want to see what kind of optimizations are possible. But the ultimate win is going to happen when the AI helps you scaling revenues without really hiring a lot of manpower. The AI startups, as I mentioned, get excited about content and automation, but really they forget to link it with the fun. Everything has to tie down to the dollar that you're going to make, right? And the real antidote to this is focus. Every piece of AI driven content or process or whatever we are trying to do as an initiative, should serve a sort of a revenue generating goal. So
Yeah.
whatever we are trying to do, we should tie it to a number, and we should, as I mentioned, run tests to see what is the ROI that we are getting from those, initiatives. So, for example, let's say a startup, is using AI to create SEO optimized, content, and sort of then collect the data and then automate, the email marketing to those sort of readers, and uh, push that data into a CRM, right? Now a lot is being done, and a lot can happen. We can deploy AI into making sure that the data is coming in automatically. A lot of intelligence is being developed that the AI can look at the CRM and actually tell you what kind of lead scoring can happen, which are the leads that have highest potential to convert. There are tools that are recording, calls with customers, and can tell you what is the sentiment on those calls and what should be the potential, sort of next steps. Which all of this was obviously done by, sales leaders, SDRs, earlier. So, founders should treat everything today like an experiment, measure everything. Uh, in this case, measure leads, per campaign, conversion rates on, those AI recommended actions, and the actual deals closed. So,
Mm.
let's say we create two pipelines. The one is a regular pipeline, and one is an AI enabled pipeline. That is the real win when you see that, okay, AI is performing 20% better than an actual pipeline. And then you keep optimizing your process to understand where all can AI come in, and how can we take this 20% to 25% to,
Yeah.
sort of 30%. So ultimately, we need to build our, AI augmented GTM around, customer journey. We need to use data driven AI models to identify, let's say, high value accounts, generate and test, target ad copies. There is a lot of potential in
Mm.
advertising, because right now we just outsource it to an agency, and they will apply their brain. But now we can ask AI, what are those elements in the ad that, and
Mm.
the the cycle of testing and output is very, very fast now. The results are coming automatically. They can test. We can run 10 copies of ads, 100 copies of ads, and see. So super optimization is really possible at a very, very small cost. So in the end, I will say that by aligning these AI outputs directly with the pipeline metrics, whether it is your LTV, whether it is your CAC, whether it is your closed rates that are happening, whether it is a churn, the noise of automation uh, should see actual revenue, and that is when we will uh, really be able to tell how much impact AI is making.
Yeah, exactly. So the impact will be measured more from how much of impact is going to have on the revenues, while of course cost would certainly convey in terms of the margins that you can achieve.
Yeah.
So Shweta, what do you think from enterprise perspective? So what are the outcomes that you will attach with the winning teams with the AI
Yeah,
first?
I was just listening to Vivek actually.
Mm,
So what Vivek said is very much right. So I'll give you a few other things from other side, from the from the doer's perspective. Like, since we are into the receiving end, basically, how does it look like? So as Vivek also said, like, so you can optimize your resource numbers in terms of cost optimization to a certain extent. You still need a bare minimum, but I will say, although in India, there is a mindset like how many team is working for you and other things, and we are always, because of the service mindset and service orientation in our country, we always um, love to see or love to hear that big team and other things. But
mm,
that perception is changing in today's world. When we think about building an AI-driven product, we don't really need a big team. What we need is a few team member with deep focus in one of the areas and cross-functional exposure into other areas. And that's why basically what I used to say within our organization, that we need something called a full stack AI person. When I say
mm,
full stack AI person, it's still not just by knowing AI model and data interpretation and training and other stuff doesn't really help. To build an AI driven product, you need that entire spectrum to be known. So where development aspect would always be needed. Motor applications or product development cycle would still be there, because you still need to have the UX, the performance, the reliability, and all the access control and other things still needs to be looked at, right?
yeah.
So coming back, so cost aspect you can do to a certain, but yes, with AI and other things coming in, quite a lot of things are possible, and you can minimize the team. You can minimize the team with cross-functional team in place. The other
Mm,
aspect I will say, when your product or solution is really getting into the market, and you are able to see that when you are acquiring more and more customers, how you can leverage the existing team more without adding much to it. So the difference lies in, like, in a service company, every new project comes in, there would be certainly some new hire and other thing happens. So that's the traditional
mm,
mindset, right? In a typical AI driven product, that may not be the case. The system or the product itself would be able to scale it up to a certain level. Of course, you will see a threshold level at some point of time beyond which your capacity may not work. So
yeah.
that dimension is coming in, definitely, I will say, and that is really the possibility today.
Thank you, Subrata. So we are now at the back end of our conversation. Uh, while we covered a lot of aspects in terms of the organizational structure, the bottlenecks, the team, the team structure, skills. One element which I would like to talk about quickly, I would like to cover with you, uh, because of when we are talking about AI, especially with our employees, there's there's also an element of job security, and that morale has to be also kept up of these employees who may see that who assume that they may see a job loss because of the AI adoption. So quickly, if you can cover from enterprise and a startup perspective, how you can how the organizations or winning teams can keep up that morale which is required for them to function successfully.
Okay, so let me share my perspective here. Yes, there is certainly a sense of fear and other things are there for job loss and other stuffs. That's because the areas where AI-based solutions or AI-based products are going to be utilized. So I'll take few specific things. So if there are some repetitive tasks and other things being done, which an AI-driven model can do very well. Therefore, there is a perception that things like a specific set of team or team members might lose their job or other thing. That perception would be there. But let me bring you the other aspect to it. In the context of AI, there would always be a relevance for human in the loop, because as of today, if I say we cannot let our AI models take the decision full and final in many of the cases. Like, let's say if it is related to some financials, or if it is related to delivering certain outcome, AI models can do the job, but review and control needs to be with the human being at the end, um, because what AI model is doing for you, it's what you are offering to your customers as a company, right? Um, there was a recent case where this thing kind of happened, right? In case of a payment transaction, there was some free things being offered through an AI model, and then when the customer was claiming it, the company said, sorry, this was not free and this was by mistake. But ultimately this person went to the court, and finally the company has to pay for it. It happened in the US. So therefore, the company has to take the responsibility in those cases. So what was missing in this case was human in the loop. The point I'm saying is, if the people are thinking that there is a chances of job loss and others, possibly there is a scale up in terms of upskilling needed, and that's what is the key thing. Like, AI is changing the landscape. Um, I gave you the example of email versus post office. I
Yeah,
can give you
exactly.
of ERP versus non-ERP days. So the upskilling is required from those people, those who are doing the repetitive task. They need to be seeing themselves as a reviewer and controller of what the AI is giving. Maybe the 99% of the task is being done by the AI, but that
Yeah,
1% where a review and control needs to be there. That aspect, still we need a lot of people over there. So
yeah,
fear and apprehension would be there, but if this is coupled with upskilling and reskilling, then I don't see that's a big threat from that angle.
exactly. You are spot on this point, and this is more like a continuous evolution. We have seen it in other contexts as well. You talked about ERP versus non-ERP, or even when we are adopting cloud infrastructure. So there's certainly there's more role of upskilling and cross skilling, which is going to be more of a pragmatic approach. Vivek, do you have any last comment to add to this point?
Can you reframe the
Just
question
on
again?
the morale of the employees, because the AI, they may assume that the AI may take their jobs.
So not
Is
really. I think the people who should really be worried are people who are not inventing themselves on a daily basis. If you specifically are in a job that is very, very repetitive in nature, AI either today or tomorrow is going to take your job, right? And this happened 30 years ago when the computers were coming, and everybody's saying that everybody's job would be taken away. The point is, those jobs do not exist today, but there
Yeah,
are 10 times more jobs that are available, right? So, with AI coming in, yes, there will be an automation happening, and your today's job will be in danger. But if you don't reinvent yourself, it's just like saying that, oh, I'm not ready to change. You will be run over. So it's a very
exactly.
practical thing. Now the point is that the speed of change that is happening today, the acceleration factor is much, much, much more than we have ever seen. It is just unprecedented. Earlier, every 10 years we had to reinvent. Then it came 5 years, then 1 year, and today the leaders, billionaires are saying that we need to be on top of things on like a daily or a weekly basis. Otherwise, we miss out on things. So while
Exactly.
yes, you should be scared, it's a good thing. It's like positive stress. It will push you to do better. But if you don't do anything, obviously, you will be um, run over. And the kind of opportunities that are opening with what we see happening in AI, you
Mm.
can do a lot more, right? It's very exciting when let's say I work with experiment with agents and see what is really possible, right? So
Exactly.
I would, somebody commented that the jobs era is over. So I would really commend everybody to come in, start experimenting with things that they can do and serve others and be a part of this, time that will never sort of come again. Internet came 30 years ago, and now is the next best time to do something that you can make, a great career out of, and you can really sort of be a part of this revolution, I would say, that is happening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vivek, for sharing those insights. So, as both the speakers shared, we are seeing a continuous evolution about how AI is changing things, and it's kind of giving us an opportunity to upskill ourselves or cross skill to kind of adopt this the evolution, which is of course happening at an unprecedented level, but it's opening a lot of opportunities. But thank you, Subrata and Vivek, for the clarity and honesty in terms of sharing your insights and some tactics. If there's one thing that we have learned today, it is this: AI first growth isn't about having the best tech. It's about building the best team around that tech, and then how you see that team evolve through cross selling or upskilling, or even adopting to the changing landscape. So whether you are leading or a scaled enterprise or a lean startup, your team design, role prioritization, and culture alignment will define how far your AI ambition goes. And before we sign off, mark your calendars. Our next session is on 15th of May. This one is scaling beyond disruption, tariffs, AI, and global B2B success. So we'll be joined by speakers from across markets to break down how global businesses is being reshaped. So don't miss this session. Register now, and we look forward to you in the next session. In case if you have any thoughts or comments or feedback about from this, or even takeaways from this session, to share that in the comment section. And if there are any ideas that spark, then you can tag a founder, CXO, or ops leader who needs to hear this. And as always, you can catch the replay on our YouTube channel. Ritika already shared the link to our YouTube channel, and you can watch the session over there. But thank you, Jules. Thank you for joining this session and being part of this conversation. Thank you, Vivek and Subrita, for sharing your insights in this session.
So much.
Uh,
Thank you,
and
Vishwendra. Exciting panel today, and great to hear Subruta as well. So look forward.
Yeah.
thank
Nice to
you.
meet you. Yeah. Look forward.